They thought they were pulling a fast one on him. Take the house, flip it for profit, and walk away richer, thanks to his generosity. But my brother didn't get where he is by being naive. And when you try to cheat a man who builds bridges for a living, don't be surprised when he builds a trap you can't escape. If you've ever been taken advantage of for being too kind, or watched family twist your generosity into a weapon, hit that like button and subscribe. Because today's story is a definition of clever, calculated revenge, served with side of pig slop. Let me tell you about my brother. He wasn't born into privilege. In fact, he's adopted, and while that may sound like just a detail, it shaped everything about who he became. See, nothing was ever handed to him. No trust fund, no free passes. Just hard work, grit, and an insane amount of resilience. By the time he hit his 30s, he'd built his entire life from scratch. And I mean that literally. His first house? He built it by hand on a piece of land my dad sold him. And not because he had extra cash lying around, but because medical bills had eaten away what little savings he had. Still, he fought through it, took a partial construction, leveraged its equity, and somehow convinced the bank to give him another loan, just enough to finish the job. He wasn't just scraping by. He was scrapping. One board, one brick, one nail at a time. And you know what? It worked. Eventually, he sold that house at a decent profit and used it to buy a massive piece of land in the Midwest. We're talking 175 acres of open space, rolling fields, thick woods, a hunter's dream. He kept working construction, big jobs, the kind where you're managing teams that build bridges over rivers like the Mississippi. He was doing well, better than well, but he wasn't flashy. He upgraded the house on the land, then built another, his third house, because the old one just didn't fit anymore. But here's the thing. Even with all that success, he never stopped being generous, especially with family. And that is where this story takes a turn. A cousin, someone close enough to be at family BBQs, but distant enough to not know my brother's full story, asked about the house he was putting up for sale, said he and his wife were interested in buying it. Thing was, they could only afford half of what it was worth. Now, most people would have laughed that off, but not my brother. Maybe he saw a younger version of himself in them, struggling, starting out trying to find a foothold. So he did something incredibly generous. He agreed to sell the house to them for that reduced price. The bank signed off immediately because, of course, they did. The house was worth far more than the loan amount, so they couldn't lose. Papers were signed. Keys were handed over. Everyone smiled and hugged like it was the end of a feel-good movie. But you know how some people can't help themselves? Just months later, my brother's driving past the property when he spots it, clear as day, a for sale sign. He pulls in, confused. The cousin's husband comes out, casual as can be. "Oh yeah," he says. "We just realized we want something more in town. You know, closer to the schools, less maintenance, blah, blah, blah." Total BS. They'd smelled a profit and decided to cash in on his kindness. My brother, cool-headed as ever, doesn't blow up. He simply says, "Since you got the house for less than market value, how about selling it back to me for the same price?" The cousin's husband smirks. You can see the greed in his eyes. "Nah, we'll just put it on the market and see what we get." And that's when my brother's expression changes. Just slightly. No yelling. No threats. Just a calm, quiet nod. And he drives away. What they didn't realize was they just poked a bear that builds bridges over rivers. The next morning, my brother loads up his truck with fencing materials, wooden posts, steel wire, the works, and drives straight back to the land. Not the house. The land around the house. Remember? He only sold them the house, not the surrounding property. And all that land around the home, still his. All legal, all documented. He starts hammering fence posts into ground, methodically, deliberately. The cousin's husband walks outside, confused. What's going on? My brother, not even looking up, replies, "Putting in a hog fence." The guy laughs nervously. "You're putting in pigs?" Still hammering. "Yep, about 100. From a farmer down the road. They'll be here next week." And just like that, the realization hits. They bought a house on a pig farm. The property value? About to nosedive. The resale plan? About to go up in literal pig shit. Panic mode. The husband runs back inside. From the window, my brother sees shouting, flailing arms, the wife pacing like she's about to faint. They know they screwed up. The next day, They're all sitting across from each other at the bank. No small talk, no eye contact, just paperwork. The deed is transferred back to my brother. And not a single pig had to touch the dirt. They thought they were smarter. Thought they could take advantage of a guy who gave them a massive break, only because they were family. But my brother doesn't build houses. He builds strategies. They walked away empty-handed, humiliated, and stuck explaining to everyone why they lost a dream home after just a few months. And him? He got his house back. No drama, no lawsuits, just one little pig fence and a whole lot of poetic justice. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't loud. It doesn't need to shout, threaten, or explode. It just needs to quietly remind people you never should have underestimated the man who built his life from the dirt up. If this story made you smile or gave you ideas, go ahead and smash that like button and tell us in the comments what's the cleverest revenge you've ever seen. Subscribe for more stories just like this, where karma always finds a way to come home.